Now, time now to look at some of the best and worst performing bourses in Africa, and of course, we're taking a look at what happened last week. And to take us through these numbers, I'm joined in studio by Gerhard Le Roux. He is a sales trader at Imara S.P. Reid. Now, Gerhard, just looking at some of the performances that we saw last week, and of course, I want to focus more so on Mauritius, which of course last week we saw the global competitive report from the World Economic Forum ranking Mauritius quite highly in terms of African economies, doing very well ahead of South Africa. It was actually 7 places ahead of South Africa. But looking at it from that, of course, I would imagine this is good confidence for that economy. In terms of the numbers, have they translated positively for the SAMDEX?
Well, for the week, it wasn't a spectacular showing, really. They were only up 25 basis points on the week. So I think the longer-term repercussions of this would really be positive for Mauritius. They've been sort of a banking hub in the last number of years, and they've really diversified their economy away from sugar farming towards sort of the financial services, which they've done exceptionally well in. So yeah, Mauritius really does look like a really rosy story going forward.
Mm-hmm. And for you looking, of course, you've mentioned the diversified economy, but looking at other sectors of the economy, where do you see the greatest vote of confidence? Well,
absolutely with financial services. The fact that they have ranked so well in the global competitiveness survey just bodes well for that sort of for that sector. The major stocks like MCB Group as well as SBM, State Bank Mauritius, they're really the sort of the blue chips on that market, and I think those ones should be ones we look at.
Mm-hmm. With regards to the banking stock, any one particular stock that you favor more than others?
Not particularly. I do think the sector in general is quite interesting, just because a lot of the Mauritian economy sort of is now geared towards financial services. If you want to have exposure to Mauritius, it's pretty much financial services is one of the more exciting stories.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's look at tourism. Of course, Mauritius also stands out. The Indian Ocean nation, of course, has been awarded severally by the World Travel Awards, and I see now it has actually been said to be one of the best in terms of weddings and honeymoons. And of course, I'm looking at this in the perspective of the tourism and aviation sector. How do you see this translating to some of those stocks? Of course, we saw most of the hotel stocks last week closing unchanged. Where do you see them closing this week?
Well, to be honest, it's always difficult to call, but if you like palm trees and white beaches, Mauritius is the place for you. So I've never been, but I've heard great things about the Mauritian holiday destinations, and you sort of hear more and more of people going there for destination weddings. So yeah, absolutely. If that's a great sector to look at. It's one of the nicer places, and it's close by to Southern Africa, which is and East Africa. So if those economies continue to grow well, you know, they'll see an increase of the tourism there.
Well, Gerhard, sounds like it's a high time we book our tickets and probably go and see for ourselves and not hear as much. Absolutely. Now let's cross over and talk about Nigeria, whereby, of course, we saw broad-based weakness in Nigerian banks. Of course, the banking sector was leading in terms of disappointing earnings. But of course, looking at it from the perspective of, let me see, Qatar Bank, in terms of the acquisition that it made. For you looking at it, Qatar National Bank and the announcement that they were looking to purchase a 12% stake in ETI. How do you see that going forward for that particular stock?
That's quite interesting. The ETI share is also the one that Nedbank was really keen at looking at. So we're still awaiting if there's going to be any sort of deals there. But when it comes to the banking stocks in Nigeria, there's a couple that we quite prefer, and it's Access Bank of Nigeria as well as Zenith Bank. Both of those are really strong first-tier banks, and they pay spectacular dividends, and they're just the medium to long term looking at the Nigerian banking sector is quite rosy, and with a growing economy and fairly attractive earnings numbers out of those two banks, I think those are the ones to look at.
Mm-hmm. Well, last week we saw ETI managing to gain about 6% rise last week. Where do you see it reaching? What's the cap that you have for this particular stock, of course, in light of the news of the acquisition?
Offhand, I won't be able to tell you, but Just looking at the rest of the sector, every other of the major Nigerian banks were actually down on the week. So that news was really taken very positively by the market, and we can probably see a bit more gains there if it continues that way.
All right, now looking at Dangote Cement, last week we saw that it had a major trade block in terms of one of the major trade blocks that we saw, and of course even today we also see another massive trade. What are some of the key salient issues that are actually driving the optimism in this stock?
So I don't know offhand who actually purchased the block of shares, but we've seen the PIC of South Africa actually make fairly large-scale acquisitions of Dangote Cement over the last while, over the last couple of months, not really recent, but it's an attractive story. They've got really broad-based operations across the continent, with expansions in Zambia coming up and beyond. So it is. It's one of the bluest of the blue chips when it comes to when you look at Africa. It's one of those stocks that you have to have in your portfolio. The valuations do look a bit aggressive at the moment. So it's one of those that you sort of buy on the dips, but you always have some in your portfolio.
But looking at it from the regional expansion, of course, they're very aggressive when it comes to Sub-Saharan Africa. How do you see that translating to the bottom line? Of course, most of these plants have not yet come on stream, including the Kenya one, yes, and the Zimbabwe one that the Zambia one that you mentioned, and of course we also have Tanzania. But once we have them on stream, what does it do for the bottom line?
So specifically the Zambian story, there's a huge deficit in terms of cement production within that economy. So being able to take up the slack or the excess demand really in that economy would really bode well for them. The Kenyan story, I think, is slightly different. There's aggressive and very strong participants in that sector, and it's been where the margins have actually been under pressure of late, where you've seen sort of imports, cheaper imports coming into Kenya, and it's really placed a sort of damper on the margins of the Kenyan cement companies. But yeah, I think in that one it would probably be difficult, but if they put in new plants with basically low cost production, I think they can really make an impact in that market.
Well, Gerhard, many thanks for joining us. Of course, this is a stock that we are going to continue monitoring on. Of course, it has a lot of interest, not just in Nigeria, but also in the east of the continent. Well, many thanks for that.